Hello, my friends. I'm so happy to have you for this episode of the Enneagram and Marriage Pod. Today, we are having such a special conversation around AI tech, smartphones, and your kids with Hannah Hardin. I was asking my kids about tips, and Hannah said she would actually just join us, which was so real and authentic. So, thank you so much for coming, Hannah.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so happy to be back. And this is such a critical message that our whole world is discussing right now. I think it's super important to talk about in the context with kids and students and everything.
It sure is. I just got a question from Melody tonight, as a matter of fact, about the usage of AI in college and her professor asking her to use it, her feeling conflicted. It is a sea of confusion out there. I am so thankful Hannah is going to share just a few thoughts. And before she does, I just wanted to say we didn't even set up to do this episode together, which is why we're switching mics a little, but it's so fun to have her. So I'm super geeked out. But I also want to say I asked Melody and Jack first if they had any tips for us, and they just said, please make sure that you limit it. Please, Jack joked around and said, no AI boyfriends or girlfriends. But of course, you and I know that is literally not a joke at all, with the statistics we talked about of 75% of youth having one. And he is really on his Gab phone, which doesn't have any internet access. And I've even been in connection with Gab to talk to them about some of the things that I didn't even like for them to have. So I'm really glad that they were willing to talk to me. They wanted screenshots, they want to know more, because he was even coming up to me with this special phone. It's a non-internet phone that's still a smartphone. And he was like, there's still a couple questionable things. So I was grateful they were listening. I was happy Melody is telling us to work through these tips with please don't let your kids have unlimited access. That was her big message, is be monitoring it, even though that will be uncomfortable. Right, Hannah?
For sure. Yeah, and that actually brings me to just my first point, which was going to be that moderation is key. One of the things that I think our whole world is really pressing for right now is for efficiency and for unrealistic standards of speed or just productivity by a certain amount of time, and with this just perfect expectation around formatting and everything. And while those things are super important to work on, we're finding that with this new tool, people are using it more than ever to just slip into making things work as quickly as possible, but we're losing that touch, like you said, of authenticity and of accuracy a lot of the time. So moderation is definitely key.
Mm. I love how you said that even we're losing accuracy because it's not always correct on
That's
what
right.
AI is saying for us to do. And so it's also, as a type 4, Hannah, I know for you, going and cutting corners and going fast is not that, uh, I would say it's not that appealing. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, well, in certain contexts, it is like it would be like, okay, this would be nice if I could just run this through AI super quickly. But even one time, interestingly, I had a professor, as I'm a college student right now, I had a professor tell us students, he said, go ahead and run your paper through AI and have it pre-grade your work. And when I asked it if I had met all the criteria for the assignment in the rubric, it was like, yep, you've checked all the boxes, you're over the word count. And I went back thankfully and checked, and I hadn't met the word count. And when it told me I exceeded it. So even things like that, which you'd think, okay, it's not even like a super complex like fact or theory. It's, sometimes AI slips up too. So it has to be kept in check, not just for the authenticity, but the accuracy.
That is so important. And yes, I have seen that too. I know that we're going to talk about this with Amy Wick soon, but just how your dad was super excited, brought it to us all at first in the AI
Yes.
book that was getting written, and it was crazy. And we still use it to a degree, but it's definitely lost its luster. And I think we've seen enough research to tell us, for our kids especially, that we could really lose brain development. This is not a joke if we continue to just use it without thought. I mean, we've seen people say on social, just use it to write your kids' papers. We know tons of people are using it for that. And even like we're saying, some of the college students are just being told by teachers to use it, or even feeling like their assignments are AI and they're just wondering, how do I connect with my professors now? So this is huge. What else did you think was important to share with us, Hannah?
Yeah, well, along these lines, one of the things I want to talk about is authenticity. So remaining true to yourself, even with the use of AI, because it is a wonderful tool. It's a tool. And I think that that's something that is, there's a fine line between it being a tool and then being something that you're completely dependent on, which is an opposite spectrum. And so while I don't think it's necessarily, that you have to stop using it altogether, because there certainly are good uses for it. But I think it's more so that, like we said, moderation, and also when you do use it with care, use it with intention. Like, I'm going to use this to help me lay out a design or give me some resources where I can research this and help me narrow down this list really quickly. But then we're going in and we're still doing the work of evaluating that material, actually pulling out what we need from it, making our own thoughts and informing about our own decisions, like all these things that I think sometimes either get totally skimmed over with the use of AI, or we're like, no, we can't use it at all. And I think that there's got to be an intentional balance. Um, and I think it'd be better to have the latter, if anything, to try to not use it so much. But if you are going to use it, that's awesome. Use it as a tool because it is super powerful. Just remember to keep your own authenticity, vulnerability, and bringing your own arts to your work.
I know that is so beautiful that you mentioned authenticity and bringing your own art, because you have a unique gift that AI does not have. And so we can't leave that at the table. We need to see it out there. And I am so happy that you can remind us, Hannah, that it is important to follow criterion if you're supposed to be using it for work, or if you think you want to use it for a list or something, but to really keep yourself in the picture too, is what you're saying, as the prime source, and look elsewhere as well. And I know you have one more AI tip for us, but I want to just also check in with you briefly as a Gen Zer. You're moving from 19 to 20 soon. You've grown up with, the Facebook generation of kids growing up on social media, and yet we've had some really nice boundaries too. What is something you recommend to parents of perhaps same generation or the up and coming alpha generation who is even on phones a bit more? Do you have anything about social media that you would help them to know?
Well, I think that social media, as we've all seen, has certainly become one of the biggest platforms for communication and for forming identities. Um, Especially in younger generations. We're seeing that now more than ever. It's always been that we've got, social constructs that help us to find out who we are and where we fit in the world. But we're now getting it through a screen. It's not just through face-to-face interaction. It's through text and through reels and posts that we're seeing, and the amount of likes that you get or don't get. And so I think that when we're talking about AI and technology and how that's impacting all of these generations, at least from what I've seen and what I've felt as a Gen Zer, is that it's hard not to fall into that trap. And I think there has to be grace for that, because we are in a world of technology. It's not like we can make it all go away now that it's here. It's here. But I think it's now like, what do we do with that? How do we keep moderation? How do we keep a balance? And ultimately, how do we keep our identities aside from social media and technologies? They should be completely separate in my mind. And so whether it's in your faith that you find your identity, or within your family and your work and just who you are as a person, I think that that's a beautiful thing that should be kept sacred and special, and that it's hard not to be tainted by social media, but as much as possible, with AI and tech, let's try to keep those again just as tools and as additions to who we are, and not as something that defines us.
Wow, what a great call to your generation and to those raising your generation. Again, Hannah is giving this perspective of it's here, it's a tool. And I'm reminded that for Enneagram and Marriage, for instance, we use Instagram as a teaching platform and a platform to support and show our family doing good things. And occasionally I try to write regularly to say, there was hard things this weekend too, but I didn't post those because I don't want people to think, oh, they never had anything hard. All they did is go to Starbucks. But which we do go a lot, but it's, it's really important that we all keep that in mind, that it's not our journal. And so we know people that need to use it. I know you guys just actually had been following a girl with cancer who lost her battle, and you and Melody, and I saw one of my nieces and one of your dance friends really mourning her death and really caring. And I think that was a platform she could share with. And you follow a lot of kids who have disabilities or diffabilities, as some say. And that was, and is a beautiful way to truly connect. But we're talking about using platforms as a way to bring awareness, as teaching. I know I use my personal Instagram account as a space for my online scrapbook. This is my mom wallet, I say. Like, instead of the purse crumbs, you're getting to just see it all spilled out here of the memories I want to keep for my kids' legacy. But if you have pictures you don't want others seeing, and I've certainly learned this too, make sure to privatize and to monitor if there's envy coming up. And especially, I think one thing I've done is, especially with Hannah's younger two siblings, but just we were so experimental. We were probably the last family to have phones for the kids. I know most of their friends were annoyed, like, oh my gosh, when are you guys ever getting your own phone? But then when they did, for me to have good conversations about monitoring, and Melody has a 1 hour limit on Instagram a day. Sometimes the girls even share that hour. So I'm grateful we've walked through that journey together. Do you have anything to add to that part?
Oh, for sure. I'm very thankful looking back that you were so cautious and you were very intentional with our screen time. And I think that that was hard for me in the moment as like a 12-year-old. Like, when am I gonna get my phone? Because again, it's such a social thing. Like, it's become something that's like how we're communicating and keeping in touch with people and getting, forms of self-regulation and things. But I am so thankful that you helped us to monitor it and to keep it balanced in our schedules.
I'm so glad, Hannah. And I also want to check in to say, this is something each of you will have to decide on your own, and you will have your own reasons for doing so. So let's try to come in with love and not a spirit of judgment over others who do it differently. No one will do it exactly like you, but you're hearing Hannah say, yes, I railed against my mom a bit, and sometimes more than a bit, but it was worth it to have the boundaries. And I just love hearing you say that too. And I just wanted to check in. Is there anything final you want to say about just the usage of AI, of tech, of social media, anything that comes to mind that you just think, gosh, I would wish parents or others grappling with this would know, especially as a four?
Yes, absolutely. Well, one of the things that I think it's been important for me to recognize, and that I hope it's starting to be something that's brought to conversation more, is how we're using AI as a tool, but not using it to replace those relationships as we were talking about before. We're seeing this huge boom not only of like getting information, but we're also getting affirmation from these devices now. So not even just from friends on social media or from films and music. We're getting it from zeros and ones, essentially, like from this fake technology, and we're asking it for relationship tips, and we're looking for it to tell us that we're doing everything right. And while there can be good, again, I'm not saying all of it's bad. I'm not shaming anyone who's like looked for help, because absolutely it can give amazing resources for relationship tips and all these things. It's so helpful. But at the same time, the emotional dependency is something to look out for is, okay, am I just getting good advice from this? Because that'd be awesome. Or am I also getting something that needs to be checked in with a trusted friend or a mentor? Something that can be a conversation and not just a quick dopamine hit of, hey, it sounds like I'm doing a great job of being a partner or, this certain role. So keeping it in check, giving it credit is another huge thing that I think people are just sort of dismissing or going over right now is they're just like, oh yeah, this was all my idea or whatever. And so being able to say, we sometimes use AI for something, and this is helpful as a tool. Again, not replacing our own evaluations of it, but just using it as a tool, but never using it to replace the relational aspects and the place where we get our emotional connection.
That is so beautiful as a heart type, and I'm so happy you came on the pod tonight. It's so beautiful. She's right here with me in my office, and I am such an information girly that I'm like, guys, give me the information. And she's like, let's connect. And I'm like, oh,
It's both. It's definitely both.
she loves her info too. Oh, I love my connection too. It's just whichever one's not as first for you. It's so nice to see real people in your life to help you to navigate and to find your shadows and blind spots. So it feels so good to be balanced, right? With your body, your mind, your heart, your soul. And that is the way we were created. So I love it, Hannah. I love that you are even studying AI as a thesis at USF. Thank you for doing that. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been awesome.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm so glad we got to have that conversation with Han, and also just love listening to Jack downstairs trying to figure out how to play The Outsiders on the actual piano. Keep your kids on other things. Another tip Melody gave before we ended was she said, please make sure, and this was Melody, not Hannah, who is just saying, it may take intention, but you need to do it anyway. Melody said, get them creative, get them outside, get them doing something. It will cost more, but it's worth it. And so I just want to encourage you on that. We hear that all the time from the social psychologists out there, Jonathan Haidt and more from the anxious generation. Take one tip from today, empower yourself to talk to a family with a child, not in a judgmental way, just a curious way, and allow yourself to sit with whatever they say versus coming on in. And if you are in charge of kids, this is yours to do. So figure out some good planning and step into it. I'm right here with you. Can't wait for more convos with you in the coming weeks about relationships and also this. We will be throwing in a few on this as well because this is big. All right, talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you again for listening with us. It was so wonderful to have you. I love knowing we're doing this journey together, not perfectly, but with love, grace, and hopefully some fun too. If you loved today's episode, make sure you leave us a 5-star review at Apple Podcast or Spotify so others can find it too. Visit our show notes so you can get all the links from today's show, as well as enneagramandmarriage.com, the Instagram, the Facebook, and all over the place. Make sure you spread the word. Love living intentionally with you. Bye-bye.